got the mini trees. Good afternoon, guys. What is going on? Hope everybody is having a great day. So, it has just been a magnificently beautiful day. GREGA weather report. We haven't done a weather report in such a long time. It is, oh, Andy leaving to go get the pump on. Like I was saying, it has just been raining on and off all day long. It actually just stopped. Sounds like it's going to start up here in another second. But yesterday we got some of the shop and the outside cleaned up from all the grinding that we have been doing. As you also can see, the frame is nowhere to be seen. That is in our good buddy Mark's hands. As can see, is just coming out insane. I told him gloss black, and you're going to be able to shave your face in that thing when he's done. So that should be done very, very soon, actually. But that's the progress on that. I was hoping to actually get to the cab a little bit today, but doesn't look like that's going to happen. I am going to tell you the reason why this engine is still sitting here and we have been not working on the 05. I will share that with you guys at the end of the video. We are going to start stripping the rest of this engine down to pretty much what I don't need on here, which is the rest of the accessories, the fuel system, and things like that. Today we were driving by and we just so happened to see our man Snap-on Ryan sitting in the BK parking lot. So I stopped by, and of course I got my arm twisted behind my back, and we bought some things, which you saw me put on the table here just a second ago. So let's show you here exactly what we got. All right, so these things are actually pretty cool. They're not your average, I don't know if you would call them, you know, vice grips on steroids. I don't even know what the heck they call these things. These are actually new to me. They don't even got a name. I'm not sure. You guys, leave a comment down below. You'll know what these guys are. But basically, what it's doing is allowing you this extra handle down here to really get some leverage on whatever you're grabbing. Let me see if I have a... All right, so just take this for instance, I guess. You want to grab this, and it's really locked in there for whatever reason. Now, you're probably asking yourself, when would you ever use this, just not a normal wrench? Well, I've had to use these a couple times, especially when we did the alignment on one of the trucks. Basically, what you can do then is you squeeze down here, and man, the leverage that this creates up in here, squeezing this, really, it puts so much extra pressure on what you're trying to break free. It's insane. So these things I felt like were a tool that I was missing for certain applications. Of course, they have them in 3 sizes, which of course I'm a sucker for sets and matching colors. So we got the minis, the mediums, and they actually have one even bigger than this. But as you can see, just imagine the kind of leverage squeezing this that it puts on the jaws here. So kind of a cool tool, very unique for certain applications, but I went ahead and picked these up. Now these I was forced to buy. I do not need these. As you can see, I kind of have 1/2-inch extensions already in here, but I will tell you why I was forced to buy these. That's because we went out to dinner with Ryan, and he was wearing one of these sweet limited edition Dixon flannels so I can look like a lumberjack, and I'm like, man, I gotta get one of those. So of course they had them, and I was just gonna get the shirt just by itself. He's like, nope, to get them, you gotta buy these extensions. So I don't know what we'll do. Maybe we will give those to Andy. I'm not really sure, but I have a brand new set of now Snap-on extensions that I really didn't need. So I paid, you know, that's how they get you. That's how they get you. You know, you got to spend, you know, $100, $200 for, which, I mean, this is a nice flannel. This is a nice flannel. So, I don't know. I wanted it, so, you know what happens. That's why, that is the main exact reason I do not go on the Snap-on truck all that often, because it just, before you know it, yeah, sure, put it, you know, and you end up owing the man, and that's what happened. So anyway, enough of that. Let's get to the first item we are going to be removing. Now, I feel like this would help a lot of people if you've never removed your stock turbo on your truck. There are a couple little helpful tips and tricks that I can show you guys and tell you guys right off the bat that would help you. If you're getting ready to do a second gen swap or something like that, this will definitely help. So if you do need to remove your stock turbo and your manifold, I usually do it in a pair. Every time I've always removed a stock turbo, I've always just pulled the manifold off all in one. Now, you can see the 4 bolts here. There's 2 here in the front, and there is 2 bolts on the backside that go up, which you can do. You can pull the turbo off by itself. I have always found it easier just to pull the manifold bolts and pull this all as one. So obviously you have your oil feed, which you can just disconnect right from here, leave the line right on. There are, I believe there are 2 10mm bolts. As you can see, this is actually leaking, or the oil drain gasket's leaking there. 2 10mm bolts on the bottom there. Leave the drain right in the block, because usually the factory drain is in there really, really bad. Now, what holds a lot of people up is this heater line, which you can see, we started to disconnect before on one of the previous videos, but you can see where it has this little tab here on this bolt. So what you have to do is loosen the first nut that they have on there, kind of pull that out of the way, you kind of see how it's really in there. So you have to pull that kind of out of the way, and then undo these little factory safety clips, which are just a pain in the butt. You really gotta basically get some dikes, get some loppers, pry them off so you can even get to the heads of the bolts. Now, while the engine is in the truck, this is obviously a little bit more difficult, but you can see there is one on the bottom 2 back studs too. So what a lot of guys will actually do, and I've done before in the past when you're undoing this, is this coolant heater hose tube is supported down here by this bolt. Usually it's bolted right there. So, you know, you have a bolt here and a tab here. Is it really necessary? Not in my opinion. Usually what a lot of guys will do is they will just cut this right here along the line to get rid of this bracket completely. Undo this, get that out of the way, and then take off your little safety clips here and undo whole entire thing, pull that setup right off. So that's what we're gonna start by doing. Obviously it's a little easier out of the truck, but now that you have seen what you are up against, you might have a little better chance getting to that. So that is where we're gonna start. Alrighty, and there we are, pretty much completely broken down We're still going to leave the front cover on. Everything inside the front cover, that's going to stay. We're pretty much going to just leave that, swap that out. Everything on the front, the back, the side, everything's pretty much off. You got the adapter plate off. Kind of see the rear main seal. That's the back of your cam there. On the adapter plate, there's actually an O-ring that kind of seals that off. Other than that, there was a small engine ground that you saw us take off. That's pretty much it. We're going to leave the drain. Back of the adapter plate, that's for your starter. And here's your little O-ring for your cam gear. I'm sorry, cam seal. Blah. Other than that, guys, we are pretty much ready to start on the fuel system. I did kind of spray it down a little bit just to knock some of this crust off. You can see right here, look at this. You can tell this valve cover has never been off of this thing. 200,000 miles. But we're ready to start. I'm going to take the fuel system off as easily as possible. Pretty much just going to undo the rail bolts, undo the lines, undo the hold downs, take that off all in one piece. Get the connector tubes nuts off, pull the connector tubes out, then pop the valve cover off, try and get the stock injectors out, then put the valve train back together, because the valve train, I think, is going to stay with this engine. So before we move on, I do want to just mention one thing. When you guys hear someone say cam and crank sensor, this is your crank sensor right here. Obviously, it picks up the tone wheel from the crank, from your damper right there, spins with the crank. That's your crank sensor right there in the front. Cam sensor is the one right behind here. Right, pretty much where your cam would be underneath your CP3, but that is the cam sensor right there. So just want to clarify those two things for you guys. Just if you ever need to address anything with those sensors, that's the location for them. So we are now down to the connector tubes. Now, I usually always replace these anytime I do injectors, regardless of mileage. If you have a lower mileage truck, I would probably be okay with reusing them. I really don't like to, under any circumstance, at least changing the O-rings that are on them. In this case, these things are kind of frozen in. Usually I can get them out with a good two-thumb finger action and pry them out. If you are going to be replacing them, doesn't really make a difference. You can just grab onto them. The threads on the end here is what you do not want to mess up. A little jiggle action, they will pull out. Normally, if I'm going to save them, I'll try and not do that. At least wrap a paper towel around them and do not grab them very hard. But if you are going to replace them, doesn't really make a difference, so just grab them and pull them out. So let's see how well this camera is going to pick up what I want to show you guys. Alright, so you can kind of see, you see the fine scratches on that far side? Here we go, there's some on this side. There we go. You see how that's not perfectly smooth? You can kind of see ridges all around there. And then take a look at this trunnion piece as well. You can kind of see how scarred up that is? There's a bunch of marks all inside this. So basically what's happening is when I put this back in here, if I can barely get it back in, this is binding up right here. It's binding up. So that's no good. The fix is there's companies out there that make different trunnions and that help with more oiling, more able to shed some of that friction, blah, 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 blah. So there's products out there to fix this, make this better. This is basically a cause of higher mileage. It's just a normal wear and tear kind of item. This motor has 200,000 miles on it with probably not all that great of oil change intervals. So that's it. I just wanted to make you guys aware of that last thing before you guys button everything up. We are now going to finish putting this back together. Alrighty guys, and that is pretty much it. Fuel side done, all the accessories off. This is basically ready to drop off a complete long block and pick up a new one. Which does kind of bring me to my last point of this evening. It is getting late. We are ready to go inside. You guys didn't see it. I already went inside. I had some turkey. The wife cooked up turkey. That's what we had for dinner. And yeah, why are we taking apart this engine? Greg, I thought the whole point was to take the engine out of the 06 and put it in the quad cab and call it a day. Why are we not working on the 05? Well, some things have changed. Obviously, you guys know we just dropped off the trans to Muldoon's. So if you're taking a look at this truck, you know, the whole truck's got 80,000 miles on it. The axles have 80,000 miles on it. You know, the transfer case, everything else. We're getting the transfer case and trans completely redone. So at that point, everything is either newer or has 80,000 miles on it, except for the engine that we were about to plug into it. Well, you know me. I just can't do that. So we have another engine coming for the quad cab. Even though this is no longer the race truck, even though this is no longer the competition vehicle, we have another engine coming for this truck. That's why we are stripping down this engine and going to be swapping it for a different one. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. So stay tuned. That is why we have not been working on the quad cab. I know, we just got the lights installed. We were like, okay, the lights are gonna be like, all right, let's get this engine in there, get the trans done. This thing will be running before we move shops. That was the original plan. The plans have changed. The plans change all the time around here. So hopefully that makes somewhat sense, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Plenty more stuff to come later this week. Me and a special guest are going on a little road trip this weekend. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. So stay tuned for tomorrow's video, the video after that. Hit the subscribe button, hit that like button. I'll see you guys tomorrow. See ya.